man, when I was in high school for Jehovah's Witnesses, they used to train us how to go knocking on doors and tell people they could live forever in paradise. All they have to do is listen to some old, fat, bald white dudes in New York State, upper New York State mainland, and just worship everything they said. And eventually, if they just accepted them as prophets, they would inherit some sort of happy place where we'd all wear white and black pantsuits. Oh, what the hey. Ugh. When I was in health class, they showed me a VHS tape that would ruin my life forever. They were trying to train us how to be the friend of the good guy, and in order to do that, we had to agree not to stick our hands in certain places, and I don't mean our mouths. So essentially, they showed us a lost episode of Coconut Fred's Fruit Salad Island. I'll admit that at first I was skeptical, but they smacked me in the with the ruler and both of my arms' veins because I dared to call myself a skeptic. As I started watching this tape, I immediately noticed something was wrong. Mr. Greenrind's anus was protruding. His back was turned to the camera, if there was a camera, given it was a cartoon, whatever the equivalent of that is. To the entire episode, he was simply showing a little drawn-on starfish-looking asterisk character, and there was stuff coming out of it. Now, the good news is it wasn't fecal matter, but it looked a lot like toothpaste mixed with cookie dough. Now, watermelons are not made of toothpaste or cookie dough, so I figured this was some sort of metaphor for what happens if you mix fatty foods with healthy lifestyles. You end up doing strange things. Anyway, Mr. Greenrind is holding a health class meeting inside of the VHS tape, and he's talking to Bingo Cherry, who's going through adolescence. He's teaching Bingo Cherry not to stick his hands in certain places, or he'll grow hair all over them, and you'll become aware, Cherry. Bingo Cherry starts screaming. It goes on for about 15 and a half minutes. I have no idea why they didn't edit this, and I don't know what that was supposed to prove. Ah, ah, ah. Bingo's cherries' eyes start melting like freaking egg whites, dripping into a pan. For some reason, they drew a pan there. I think it was supposed to be like one of those unexpected funny animations, but this wasn't funny. It was just strange. I was not okay with this. Coconut Fred begins rolling onto the scene like a bowling ball, and he's knocking over the smaller fruit characters as if they're bowling pins. He freaking hits Wedgie the lemon sailor, who I don't know how to say this, but a mayonnaise looking substance squirts out of him and pops into Coconut Fred's mouth. He remarks that the lemon was surprisingly salty rather than sour. My high school teacher, health class teacher at that point actually looked really embarrassed, and he took out the tape and he threw it in the garbage, and he chanted a Jehovah's Witness prayer. I had to go find a goat outside, and then he cut its throat into a blood basin. I'll admit it wasn't a pretty sight, and all the lights were off though, so I could only barely see it. But cleaning the blood out of the basin, I'll admit that kind of sucked, but that's why I learned not to speak up in class and get detention, because then they make you do that. Anyway, I was scared enough as it was, scared enough to not do whatever it was my health teacher didn't want me to do. But then we resumed watching the tape. Unfortunately, Bingo Cherry was tempted. Bingo Cherry took out his little stubby stem hands, and he looked ominously. He looked like he knew something was wrong. He began to laugh mischievously to himself, and then he freaking did it. He started milking a cow. He started milking a cow right in front of Coconut Fred, who was screaming loudly for another 15 and a half minutes. Coconut Fred's eyes were bulging out of his head, and his mouth fell and hit the ground. It wasn't even cartoonish style. It was like they just screwed up animating it. Anyway, that's probably why the show got canceled so quickly. Anyway, Coconut Fred gets wheeled off the stage by Mr. Greenrind, the watermelon, and Bingo Cherry at this point, well, it's really hard to explain this, but he rips off the cow's udders, and the cow seems really chill about it. The cow's actually smiling, which actually makes it all the more scary. The cow was also wearing a crown on its head, Bingo Cherry declares the cow king of the island. Well, he runs around screaming that the cow having udders was actually a female king. He was trying to make some sort of point, but I didn't understand what it was. This actually pissed off my health class teacher even more. So he destroyed the tape yet again, and he whipped out a third copy of the tape. I don't know why he owns so many of these, but he gave us like a 15-minute lecture on how temptation corrupts humanity. So you just keep getting Coconut Fred VHS tapes that you're not supposed to watch, but it makes you feel excited in some sort of way that, you just have to keep admitting it to your friends again and again and having a prayer meeting and then doing it again and again. And somehow by admitting the gross, disgusting things that you do and doing it again and again without actually truly being sorry for it. I don't know. I was a Jehovah's Witness. What do you want out of me? Anyway, in the final scene, Bingo Cherry takes the family car. I don't know how he had a family car, but apparently Coconut Fred was supposed to be his father, which I never really drew that conclusion from the show, but apparently that's the truth. And Bingo Cherry stole Coconut Fred's coconut car. It's like the Batmobile, but it's a coconut thing, and he drives it straight into the volcano. Bingo Cherry is melted alive. The cherry juices splurge out of the volcano and onto the island like a bloodbath as all the fruit drown in Bingo Cherry's blood. Now, admittedly, that didn't make much sense because Bingo Cherry was actually a small cherry, but A, shut up, and B, that anomaly was answered within the next half a minute. Bingo Cherry arose out of the volcano and clawed his way out, one furry paw after another. Oh no, he was a wolf. Ooh, Bingo Cherry exclaimed as there was a full moon outside. That was still the lemon, but now it was a moon. And that showed that the sun is a lemon. Anyway, Bingo Cherry's now a cherry, a were cherry, he pronounces himself, and he goes around, he eats all the fruit and then he belches them out and plays with their skeletons and makes a xylophone out of them, and he plays the SpongeBob SquarePants theme as the credits roll. There's some sort of message on screen about how you should really use Vaseline, and uh, I don't know. I don't. Then it ended. My teacher admitted that he wasn't actually a Jehovah's Witness and he was actually a door-to-door knife salesman. He took out a knife and we all ran out trying to grab the knob to the door. Now he did slash a couple of my friends, and they went to the nurse and they got some bandages, but they did have to call the cops, and he was arrested. At that point I thought everything was okay, but then I did learn that he had a penchant that no one ever told us for breaking into the school cafeteria at night, and apparently he was dry humping all of the fruit. Now, I'm not going to say I'm okay with that, but I did eat some of the pineapples that he supposedly dry humped, and admittedly they tasted like normal pineapples, but there were googly eyes attached to them that I had to peel off. um I don't know. I mean, if you're crazy, but no one gets hurt. I mean, well, he did stab some people.